name is Edrees and I go to Oakland Technical High School, and I'm in the 12th grade. My GPA is 4.3, and I've been admitted to both UC Santa Cruz and San Jose State. I wrote about the student navigation at school and how a student is able to become aware of what they're actually being presented to at school and how they can take advantage of those opportunities, and how the school can be resourceful to that student so that they can become successful. I also written about student mental struggles and how students sometimes face insecurities, and that the inability to deal with those insecurities end up reflecting their academic performance.
You were doing your research. You mentioned something about realizing that tracking didn't start with you in high school. You look back at your middle school classes. Tell me that story.
Well, I learned that some students took different courses than I did, and they were able to make faster connections to their future course selections. I found it because me and some of the students were in the same class in 7th grade for math, and then in 8th grade we were placed in different courses, and I realized the fact that we were placed in those different courses shows that tracking has a way of choosing your own academic future, and through that experience and through that difference of course selection, I was able to find further differences in high school, and how that another person's academic career ended up being different from mine, and how that other person had a much easier time in taking the courses that they wanted instead of I did.
The system of tracking fit the demands of the time. Only 20% of high school graduates were even expected to go to college. They would become doctors, lawyers, and CEOs. The next 20% were meant to go straight into skilled jobs, like accountants, managers, and bureaucrats. And the bottom 60% would become workers, like farmers and factory workers. There were jobs for everyone in the booming post-war economy, and schools like Woodside did their part to supply a useful workforce.
When you start learning more about tracking, how did it make you feel?
First, it made me feel like I was powerless against my own control over my own academic future. But then as I kept doing research, I learned how to find loopholes in that system and how to control my own future and how to be responsible for myself as a student.
So Edrees, what are your recommendations based off of all the research you've been doing?
Well, and I would say be aware of your academic status and just be aware of the institution that you're in and the courses that you select and the classes that you're in and how well you're doing in that class. You need to take full responsibility of what the courses you take and how you're performing in those classes, and how your performance in those classes can influence your future. Well, yeah, I recommend the improvement in counselor involvement that best positions a student for success both in middle school and high school. And also, parents must have agency to ensure their child has the right classes, even if they're insecure about understanding their process. Ask questions. Basically, don't just blindly trust the school. My name is Edrees and I am an engineer career.
Well, I think that the school shootings are obviously really bad, but it's nothing new. When you look and it's these happen all the time, but these are the ones that decided to get publicized, the news decided to publicize. And for me, it's a lot of people are oh my God, this is so bad. But I was exposed to it earlier when when the Sandy Hook shooting happened. I was I was a lot younger, I think. But it became even more sick when people when black men and women were just being killed because of their skin color and there weren't much consequences. And that's why the March for Our Lives, the marches that recently happened over the weekend, I was kind of like tied up about it because I feel like all these celebrities came out and all these people donated a lot of money. And just because of this cause, and when Black Lives Matter happened, a lot of the same celebrities were not out marching with people. No one even mentioned, like, on these marches, no one mentioned the man who got killed in Sacramento over the weekend. Like, I feel like that's what the light should be like, also like that should be shined on that. And so it kind of like leaves me tied up because it's like one thing like on hand, it is like kids, like people who didn't get to live their life fully, their life is like being stripped away from them by someone who just has mental health issues. And I feel like that also is not the school but like the world's fault because they put shame on people who have mental health problems, and so that allows that person just not to want to like tell anyone and just keeps themselves and allow something like that, like they get triggered and then that happens. And so that can go for anyone, like any race. You don't have to be white, black, Hispanic, like it could be anyone.
And you should have been here today to support us and let us know that this is not going to continue to happen. And see, and this is how we know it's going to continue to happen because they're not out here. They don't give a damn. They're not out here.
Everyone wants to come together, like the country wants to come together for this, but it's like when black people come together and it's about Black Lives Matter, we're looked at as like animals and people who don't know how to control themselves.
When you go to work each day, you shouldn't have to worry that a pack of rabid animals will suddenly show up at your home and openly threaten your family.
There are just people who are just angry because their sons and daughters are just being killed and like murdered and no one's getting there's no consequences for this, and like their lives are just being stripped away, just like these kids' lives are being stripped away by someone who is crazy, like who just can't like function. I obviously feel for these kids. Like that's so sad. Like if that was to happen to anyone at my school, like I would be so terrified. I want people like to know what happened and to care. But I just feel like we still have issues that aren't resolved, and like the country is trying to like jump over like Black Lives Matter and like switch. Like I feel like you can't try to move forward with something when you haven't finished something else. Like I feel like Black Lives Matter, like that's not gonna be an ending movement, but it's not been as publicized as this. Like it's so much airtime for the marches and stuff, and it's like you only see airtime for Black Lives Matter when it becomes a riot or when it becomes something bad.
I'm Ash Whipple and I'm a senior at Oakland Technical High School. At first it was kind of hard because the whole time like, I don't want to make anyone feel bad, because there's a lot of that where people get really awkward when you start talking about being trans or them messing up or anything like that. But once it was published, it felt really good, and I was like, oh, well, can't take that back. So so last year I had a PE class. And my coach was really cool. I told him I was trans. Honestly, don't think he understood it, but he was like, okay, I'll support you. And he let me use the coach's locker room, which only one person can go in at a time, and it's locked. So that happened, and then when it came to the swimming unit, I didn't swim, so I ended up going with another PE coach. But he was not accepting at all, and during the physical fitness test, you're graded differently depending on if you're a boy or a girl, which I'm neither, so I could finish every section for the boys and the girls perfectly except for the push-ups. And the first thing he said to me when I went up to him to talk about it was, oh, isn't it nice that you get to pick? And it's kind of like, no, it is not. But then later I was talking to him about it again, and he called me it when I kept trying to tell him my pronouns were they. And he laughed and just insisted that no, it. So I left and didn't really go back there. And then I ended up in his class again for a different unit. And he did it again. And I just went back to my other PE coach and told them I'm not going back.
What do you want others to get from your voice?
Specifically teachers to understand what it's like, or anyone actually, what it's like to be misgendered and what it's like to be trans. And obviously my perspective is not the only perspective, there are a million other ones. But I'm hoping that my voice can make it easier for other people to come out, for other people to be more accepting, because someone has to start it. Might as well be me.
Awesome.